Pastor Roy Gearhart from Galloway United Methodist Church in Franklin, Pennsylvania, sharing a few words of encouragement to help us follow after Jesus. Well, it's been a while since I've filmed a video outside, and I was beginning to feel cooped up filming these over and over again indoors, and I thought it's time to get out. And it reminds me of the condition that God's people were in at the beginning of the book of Exodus. They were cooped up in Egypt. For several hundred years, they had been trapped there in slavery, and it was time to get out. The whole book of Exodus is about God getting them out. God sent Moses to lead them on this journey that would get them back to the land that he had promised them and put them in a position where the future could actually open up in front of them. There's no future for them in Egypt. They have to get out, and they have to let God show them his way. Well, Moses met with God at the burning bush, and there God lays this heavy task on him to go and lead his people out of Egypt. He gave him the demonstrations of his power to be able to show the people. And so Moses headed back toward Egypt, and God sent his brother Aaron out to meet him. Remember, one of Moses' objections had been that he was a bad speaker and that he thought it was a bad idea to use him then to speak for the people of God and to speak for the Lord to them. And so God promised him that his brother Aaron would be his spokesperson. So God took the initiative, sent Aaron out to meet him, and the two of them link up. They head back into Egypt, and Aaron speaks for Moses, telling the people what God has said and showing them these demonstrations of his power. The people are elated. The leaders of God's people are just so overwhelmed with this good news that God has heard them. After all of these years, God has heard their cries for help and has sent someone to lead them out of this slavery. They got down on their knees and they worshiped the Lord. But this is just day one of the journey, and day two is going to get tough. Oftentimes we forget that when we start on the journey of following God, or we start into a new step of faith that God is leading us in. Is that day one can start off with great joy and anticipation, with all kinds of hopefulness, and day two can come crashing down on us like a ton of bricks. In Exodus chapter 5, we see day two begin to play out. When Moses went back to Pharaoh to tell him what God wanted and wanting his people to be set free, well, Pharaoh rejected it flatly, said no. And then he came back hard against God's people. He overburdened them with work. He pushed back against them with threats. The people began to really be crushed by this. In fact, they become angry at Moses and Aaron. They blame them for causing them all this trouble with Pharaoh. And Moses turned to God, cried out. And the Lord encouraged Moses, and Moses tried to pass along this message of encouragement and hope to God's people, but they just couldn't hear it. They were so discouraged and so beat down that it says that they just couldn't believe it. They wouldn't listen at all to Moses. And so Moses had to press on without their backing. It's easy for any of us to actually land in this kind of a spot. Whether you're a brand new Christian who's set out with all the joy of newfound faith and hope, discovering the love of God and his forgiveness. I mean, you can go out there with all that excitement and anticipation and immediately run into people who push back against it, people who don't support you and who undercut you and leave you discouraged and beaten down. You can run into circumstances that immediately let you feeling defeated. And even people who have been following the Lord for a long time in their life, I mean, you can set out in a step of faith but end up running into all kinds of challenges that can leave you exhausted, worn out. You can feel sick and burdened and beaten down in such a way that you lose heart and you begin to question your faith. But don't give up. Don't give up and throw it away. Hold on. God is there, and he will come through for you, just as he does for God's people, delivering them from Pharaoh, proving his power, and demonstrating to them that he loves them, and he will carry them through. Hold on. God is with you, and he will come through. May God bless you today, and as you share this good news, may God make you a blessing wherever he takes you.